Last year, I experienced a psychotic break. 2020 was difficult for many reasons, but for me, it was a full-blown mental breakdown. There were many factors that led up to my breakdown. I had COVID at the time, which can be said to mess with your brain a little bit in like 1/3 of people. I had medications on board that could have caused some type of reaction, and the one that is most likely the biggest contributing factor is the fact that I am pretty severely mentally ill. I've been mentally ill or officially diagnosed as mentally ill since I was 15 years old. My first diagnosis was depression, anxiety, pretty common these days. Back then it was becoming more common. I was put on medication and sort of just went about my life the best I could, but over the years, some pretty traumatic things have happened. Early childhood situations, and later on, some other pretty traumatic things that I can talk about later happened. And after I had my 2 boys with my husband, I noticed there were a few more challenges with my mental health. I definitely experienced a little bit of postpartum depression on top of the things I was already dealing with. But I got it along well, and I managed, and everything was seemingly okay. But yeah, some really hard things happened in 2020, and about a couple weeks before my breakdown, I was quarantined, isolated from everyone, even my husband and children, as per directed by my doctor. And that was very difficult for me to be isolated, especially with my mental health. And I think during that period of time was the biggest decline in my mental health and physical health. But even like months prior, looking back, there were signs that I was headed for a psychotic break and manic behavior. And so, yeah, pretty thick, pretty difficult. Not exactly something you hear people sharing every day on the internet, but I felt very strongly that I needed to share, because during this experience, I felt so alone, and I felt like, even though I knew there were plenty of other people across the world that experience mental illness and things like that, I'd never really heard people talk openly about a real live mental breakdown or psychotic break. And I kind of just want to be that person for somebody out there that has experienced something so challenging. So after quarantine isolation, things got pretty bad. My physical health, like I said, my physical health had declined, my mental health had declined, and around that time, some pretty traumatic things were going on, and I think that in my mind, I just, I had suppressed so many things over the years and not got proper help for it, like therapy or anything like that. And so at least I'd had therapy, but nothing like consistent enough to really make a difference, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think everything just came to a head, and with everything that was going on currently in my life at the time, and with everything that had happened in the past, I think it was just system overload, and I could not take it anymore. I couldn't handle the load that I had placed upon myself, and in some areas had been placed upon me, and I just broke. I straight up broke. The biggest break. Oh my goodness. It was scary. It was confusing, and for quite a while I didn't really know what was going on. I was definitely like out of touch with reality, and it was very difficult to really truly know what was real and what wasn't. During this time, I said a lot of things and I did a lot of things that hurt a lot of people. Not just myself. I didn't just hurt myself, I hurt so many people. And things that I said, things that I did, and I think that was the most difficult part of this entire thing, was that I hurt other people, and that I hurt other people along the way. And I think in a lot of ways I sort of set proxy. Certain people in my life, the closest people in my life, they were sort of this proxy for all the hurt that had come before me, and I just lashed out. I just lashed at everyone. I said things that were deeply hurtful, and some of them were, very true. Some of them had been sort of twisted or miscommunicated, and unfortunately, some things that I didn't even mean to say came out a different way and to certain people, and unfortunately caused even bigger issues. And I think the people around me at the time didn't really know exactly what was going on. I think they had an idea. I think that it was pretty clear that I was not in my right mind. But those things that I said, whether I was in my right mind or not, they still hurt those people deeply. And those things that I did hurt people very deeply. And like I said, I was kind of out of it for quite a while. I was out of touch with reality, and so I wasn't able to fully grasp or even understand what I had done, what I had said. All of it was just such a big blur, and really felt like I was watching someone else, in a movie. I didn't even feel like I was a part of this reality. I definitely felt like I was separated and just observing in a way. And so I wasn't able to fully comprehend what was going on. Thankfully, my husband got in contact with my mom, and my mom and my sister came up from Texas. I had gone missing for a couple of days when I initially broke, and my husband was concerned, and, eventually they tracked me down, and my mom and sister came up from Texas. My brother and my dad came up from further north, and they all kind of made a collective decision as a family that it was in my best interest to go to the hospital and take an evaluation. And so they ended up calling the cops and let them know the situation, and the officers came out. There were about, oh my goodness, 20 officers in our condo, and I was so confused.